I think the biggest thing on our side is he's very, very strong, very
Really?
strong. So yes, he's super, super strong. Out of all my lightweights, he is the strongest one out of all of them. I don't recall one lightweight stronger than him.
What does he weigh like normal? Right now, if you called him up, what do you weigh, brother?
I would say at least minimum like 185, 190.
Got here. He's 210 pounds.
No, Islam.
That guy's 250 pounds.
His strength feels like 250 pounds.
That's what I hear.
But that's the thing with them. They're always training. No matter what they're doing, they always at least run once a day or grapple.
He's big. That's about as big as you can get and keep doing that. Islam Makhachev is huge. I mean, that guy, how he makes 155 is, I don't understand it. Every time I stand next to him, like, how are you 155?
How much do you think he walks around?
He's got to be 190-ish, in the 190 range. He's got to be. That's what he looks like to me.
Islam Makhachev is looking very big for his upcoming title fight against the welterweight champ, JDM. Islam is feeling comfortable in this division and is confident to win his second belt in the UFC. Meanwhile, Dan Hardy shares his thoughts on Islam versus JDM, recalling how he praised JDM's striking years ago when Francis Ngannou was preparing for boxing. He highlights that JDM's stand-up still stands out to him. Shifting to Makhachev, Hardy believes the move to welterweight comes at the perfect time. Instead of holding himself back like many fighters do, Islam is letting his body grow naturally, which makes him even more dangerous.
Islam, he's moving up to 170. He's going to be fighting JDM for that title. Do you think he gets the job done, or how do you see the fight playing out?
Man, I've been high on JDM for a long time. You know, I remember doing interviews back when Ngannou was crossing over to boxing, and people were talking about who's got the best hands in MMA, and I was saying JDM at the time. I mean, his boxing's always impressed me. But at this point, I feel like Islam's moving up a weight class at the right time. You know, there are a lot of fighters that stay in a weight class for too long, and they seem to kind of stifle their physical growth. I don't think Islam can stay healthy and stay in that lightweight division for any longer, and I think right now he's allowed himself to move into a division where his body's just going to grow into it. He's going to be incredibly powerful.
Dan Hardy shares his thoughts on the matchup, pointing out that Makhachev's complete skill set creates problems for anyone he faces. He views the striking as fairly even, with Islam holding a slight edge through his kicks. However, Hardy expects the wrestling and grappling to eventually take control, leading to a likely submission finish in the later rounds.
All-round game is so problematic for any single fighter. I see him taking it, and I can see him probably a 50-50 striking exchange, Makhachev winning with a kicking advantage, but then he's grappling and his wrestling taking over, probably winning by sub in the championship rounds.
Javier Mendez talks about Islam competing at welterweight, emphasizing that his strength sets him apart. He explains that out of all the lightweights he has trained, none come close to Islam's physical power. Because of that, Mendez believes Islam is the one best equipped to deal with the size and strength of opponents in the higher division.
It's going to be so interesting to see how his body reacts on the fight night, you know, being able to consume extra carbs, to be a little bit bigger. Like, what do you think is the biggest strength for him being able to go up to this weight class?
I think the biggest thing on our side is he's very, very strong. Very strong. So yes, he's super, super strong. Out of all my lightweights, he is the strongest one out of all of them. I don't recall one lightweight stronger than him. Not even close. He's the strongest. So out of everybody I have, he's the guy that has the best opportunity to be able to handle the strength of the bigger guys.
Javier Mendez gives credit to JDM's striking, pointing out how dangerous and versatile it is. He explains that JDM can do real damage with any weapon, whether it's punches, kicks, knees, or uppercuts. Mendez admits he is fully aware of that threat and warns that the longer the fight stays on the feet, the higher the risk becomes for anyone standing across from him.
How do you rate JDM's striking? And how do you feel like they match up with Islam's striking?
His striking is very, very good. It's very diverse, and he's very powerful with every strike. I mean, he can hurt you with anything. He can hurt you with a kick, a knee, left hook, right hand, right uppercut, left hook, you name it. The guy's got the total arsenal to be able to put you down. So I am definitely fully aware of what he can do. And also, the longer it stands, there's always a good chance he's going to get hit, we're going to get hit. So the longer it stands, the worse it can get for somebody. At some point or another, guys like this, they're both volumes kind of precision strikers. So, we just have to make sure that he doesn't land any of the bombs, and it could.
Javier Mendez points out that JDM isn't a simple striker, but someone who throws in combinations, constantly switching stances in the middle of exchanges. He finds that style extremely impressive and admits it forces him to take preparation more seriously than usual. Mendez explains that for the first time in years, he is repeatedly studying JDM's fights on video, showing just how much respect he has for the challenge ahead.
He's not a one-type guy. He's a 1, 2, 3, 4 type. Then rechambers and comes back again, and he'll switch his style. While he's punching you, he's switching. So you're going from orthodox to southpaw, back to orthodox, all ball striking, and that's extremely impressive. Very, very impressive. I'm extremely impressed with them. And obviously, when I say I'm extremely impressed by them, that means I better work even harder, because we actually have a real opponent, and we have to make sure we get everything right, because this is the individual that can make our night a very bad night if we don't do our homework. And I'm definitely doing my homework. I'm watching him. I'm actually, for the first time in a long time, I'm actually watching the video of an opponent, even though I just watch him one time, but not this guy. I'm actually, believe it or not, I watched it 2 times already, the whole fight, and I never used to. So this is how much I respect them.
Javier Mendez reacts to Islam being listed as the favorite over JDM by dismissing the betting odds. He insists the matchup is far tougher than people realize, and warns that underestimating an opponent can lead to disaster. Mendez explains that he refuses to fall into that trap, seeing the fight as nearly even, at best a slight edge for Islam.
I don't believe those odds. I'm sorry. It's a lot tougher fight than what the odds are saying. I'm not going on that. You get caught up with that stuff. That's when it could go bad. Just think about the people that were like 15 or 20 to 1, and all of a sudden they go out there and get their butt kicked, underestimating their opponent. It's dumb. I'm not underestimating this guy. If anything, it's a 1% advantage for us type fight. That's the way I want to look at it.
Javier Mendez describes Islam as the type of fighter who doesn't need extra motivation. He just follows instructions and gets the job done. He notes the steady progress Islam continues to make and points out that while people often compare him to Khabib, the two have very different styles and personalities. Mendez highlights that each brings a unique approach, with Islam even having his own humorous way of expressing things that sets him apart.
Islam has always been, the kind of fighter that you just wind them up, tell them what to do, and let them go. And that's exactly what's happening here. He does his own. You don't need to motivate him. You just need to tell him what you want, and he'll go out and do it. I'm very happy to see the progress he's making, because I do see it. And he's a different kind of guy. As you notice, him and Khabib, they're different. Islam isn't Khabib. Khabib isn't Islam. So a lot of the characteristics of what they do or what they don't do, they're different, but they're also very funny in their own way. Islam's got some really funny sayings that really catch on, but they're different approach. They're not the same kind of approach.
Nick Barnhill believes Jack Della Maddalena brings the kind of style that could finally push Islam Makhachev into a real test, giving fans the competitive fight they've been waiting for. He feels Islam's run at lightweight never quite got the respect it deserved, not because of his performances, but because of the sky-high expectations set by Khabib before him. Barnhill points out that setbacks like opponents pulling out and weaker replacements made Islam's reign seem less impactful than it actually was.
I really think that Jack Della Maddalena has the perfect style to combat Islam, and moreover give us what we've wanted out of an Islam Makhachev fight for years now, which is a competitive fight.
Yeah.
Islam, it was really unfortunate for him because his entire legacy as 155 champion is a bit tarnished, and it's not from anything he did, but because of our expectations and how good he is and the footprint that Khabib laid and then he had to follow, it felt very quickly that once he got the belt, there was a big gap in skill between him and everybody else. And then with a couple things like fallouts happening, Arman Sarukian, pulling out like a day before the event, him having to fight Renato Moicano instead, all of those types of things made Islam's career at 155 feel diminished and not as epic as it truly was. So this to me is exactly where Islam needed to go with his career if he wanted to get the respect and the legacy that he's been trying to build since he had dreams of the UFC.
In a recent interview, Islam Makhachev mentioned that his training camp is underway and progressing smoothly. He recognized Jack Della Maddalena as a serious opponent, noting that every UFC champion brings danger. Makhachev added that he is giving this matchup his full attention and expects to be in top condition by mid-November when they meet for the welterweight title.
Khabib анонсировал твой бой против Маддалены за титул в полусреднем весе. И расскажи, как проходит твоя подготовка и видишь ли ты опасность в нем?
Подготовка проходит хорошо, только начали. Как раз только говорил, что на сборах были 3 недели, приехали. Опасность, конечно, если человек чемпион на какой-то вес, особенно у нас в организации, там таких проходных не бывает. Так что подхожу с максимальной ответственностью к этому бою и думаю, буду к середине ноября в хорошей форме.
Meanwhile, Dan Hooker gave his take on Islam Makhachev versus Jack Della Maddalena, suggesting the UFC likely set up the matchup because of stylistic reasons. He felt Makhachev's camp must have spotted an opening, but admitted the challenge was massive for Jack. Hooker pointed out that Jack's size and power could cause real problems and leaned toward Della Maddalena having the advantage, even though Islam remained a threat.
Pretty confident stylistically with that Jack Della fight. They've kind of gone out of their way to chase that fight down. So they obviously see something. I figure it'll be close, but yeah, that's a big step up. Jack Della's a pretty big boy.
Yeah. Do you think Islam can get past him?
He's obviously got like I feel like he's got a chance, but I feel like that fight leans towards Jack Della.
Moreover, Jack Della Maddalena's coach, Ben Vickers, expressed full confidence that Islam Makhachev won't be able to withstand Jack's striking. He contrasted Islam with Bilal Muhammad, saying Makhachev lacks the same durability to absorb heavy shots. Vickers stressed that Jack carries knockout danger from start to finish, and his blend of power and cardio could play a decisive role in the fight.
I just don't think Islam has the chin that Bilal has.
You feel like it's a situation where this is going to be an eventual down the line, like 3rd, 4th round, or do you think people might even be shocked to see it happen earlier on?
We know for a fact if Jack clips someone clean on the chin, they can go over. So it could happen in the 1st minute, it could happen in the 24th minute, it could happen in the 24 minute 59 seconds, it could happen 3 rounds in. Jack likes long fights, you know, he likes to be in there, but obviously we're not getting paid for overtime. So if the opportunity arises, we're happy to take it. But Jack's cardio, as we saw, Bilal's reputedly the best like cardio in the UFC, and Jack out cardioed him. Bilal was more tired than Jack towards the end of the fight. So you know, Jack's cardio is exceptional, his power is exceptional, and yeah, I like the fight, I really do.
Ben Vickers gave his thoughts on Islam Makhachev's move to welterweight, pointing out that while Islam is physically strong, Jack Della Maddalena holds the size and striking power advantage. He suggested that years of competing at lightweight might make the transition tricky, possibly affecting Islam's speed, endurance, and overall movement. Vickers admitted that even with proper adjustment time, it remains uncertain how effectively Makhachev's style will carry over against a natural welterweight.
It's going to be fascinating to see what Islam looks like at this weight class. What do you think? Do you think a lot of his power, a lot of his strength translates to the division with Jack?
It's so hard to tell, to be honest. He's a big dude. He's a good fighter, you know. Jack's bigger. Jack's probably stronger. Has got more power on the feet. But I don't know what kind of fighter he's going to be. What I do know is that as a fighter who's fought at 70 his whole career, this is going to be his first time in a very competitive matchup at welterweight, and it's different. It's a different, you know, it's going to be different for him. He's carrying more weight, and obviously he's had months now to prepare for this and get used to carrying the weight, but he's been fighting at lightweight for a decade. You know, so to then move up a weight class, it is different. And I don't know how that's going to affect his gas tank, his ability to move as well.
On the other hand, Kamaru Usman has called out the winner of Islam versus JDM. The former welterweight champion makes it clear he wants the winner of Islam versus JDM. He explains that if JDM gets past Makhachev and holds onto the belt, the ultimate way to prove himself as the new era's champion is by facing a former pound-for-pound king like him.
If JDM defends and wins defends that title against Islam, who better than to say, okay, let's solidify him as the new generation of champion by taking on the biggest name, the former pound for pound in the division? Of course, me. And listen, and then of course, if Islam wins, pound for pound versus pound for pound fighting, I mean, I'm not really worried here. You know, I've done my job to let them know, because they wanted to see, hey, are you still that guy? Can you still hang with these guys? Can you still do your thing? And I've done that. I went in and I've showed them that, so I'm not worried.
However, Kamaru hasn't received any response from either fighter yet. Meanwhile, Sean Brady admits he's rooting for Islam Makhachev, viewing a potential matchup with him as a career-defining opportunity and the ultimate grappling test. He likes the idea of testing his ground game against Islam's. Still, when it comes to making a pick, Brady tilts toward Jack Della Maddalena, arguing that the underdog isn't getting enough credit and has what it takes to spring an upset.
Selfishly for me, I would want Islam to win because I want to fight Islam as for a legacy thing yet, and I think I can beat Islam. I think I can beat anybody in the world, and I want to grapple. I want my grappling to go against his grappling and see who's better. You know, I really would love for that to play out. But if I had to pick, and I know Jack would be the underdog, I would pick Jack.
Sean Brady believes Islam Makhachev's jump to welterweight has left the division unsettled. He points out that a potential clash with Ilia Topuria seems to be on the horizon, which could shape what comes next. In his view, a loss would likely push Islam back down to lightweight, while a win might see him stay at 170 for a brief run. Brady predicts Makhachev would defend the title once or twice before either giving it up or walking away from the sport.
Islam coming up is what kind of fucked up this whole division in the first place, you know, but you can't be mad at him. If I was in that situation, I'd probably be doing the same thing. But I know him and Topuria are trying to set something up. If he wins, I think he's staying at 170. I think the chances of him, I think if he loses him, there's a bigger chance of him going back down to 155, and then maybe them still doing that Ilia Topuria fight. That's how I think of it. I think if he wins at 170, he'll defend it 1 or 2 times, and then he'll bounce from there. Yeah, and vacate or retire. Like those guys, they're not fighting very late into their 30s, you know, they're retiring early, so.
Robert Whitaker also admitted he was caught off guard by Islam Makhachev walking away from the lightweight title. He noted that while it's common for fighters to follow certain patterns, this choice stood out since Islam is among the UFC's top names. Whitaker felt the company would prefer him to keep the belt for as long as possible, which made the move all the more surprising.
You know what I think was unexpected was the relinquishing of the lightweight title.
They don't want to do it anymore. No one can be double champ technically anymore.
I expected it in a sense that because Topuria did it, people would have to follow suit. But Islam's kind of like the poster boy right now for the UFC in terms of like mega star sort of things, right? Yeah, I didn't see them doing that, but I'm all for it. Don't get me wrong, because I think double champs is really stall the division. You know what I mean? So I'm happy the lightweight division can move on again.
Robert Whitaker broke down the fight and leaned toward Jack Della Maddalena. He felt Jack's grit and resilience would allow him to withstand Islam Makhachev's wrestling pace. Whitaker pointed out that Jack's stand-up skills could tip the balance if the fight remains upright, and suggested Islam might be more cautious with his grappling, knowing Jack poses threats even off his back.
I think Jack has that X factor. I think he has the gut, the grit, the determination to fight the takedowns, to fight the ground, the takedown attacks that Islam is going to go for. And I think in a striking fight, straight up, Jack is better. I think he wins in the hands. I think Jack's got the better game to strike over 5 rounds than Islam does as well, especially if Islam is trying to go for takedowns during the fight. I think, and these are people sleep on Jack's grappling game. They sleep on his jiu-jitsu. I don't think Islam is going to be as gun-ho with the takedowns as everybody believes, because Jack has that level of offense off his back.
On the other hand, Michael Bisping sees a real possibility of Jack Della Maddalena shocking the world at UFC 322. He points to Jack's size, his proven ability to stop takedowns, and the sharpness of his boxing as key factors. Bisping feels Jack is performing at a different level at the moment and believes there's a strong chance he leaves the cage with the belt still around his waist.
So Islam Makhachev versus Jack Della Maddalena, that has been announced, but I'll tell you what, Jack Della Maddalena is bigger. He showed showed that he can stop takedowns. On the feet, there's absolutely no question. Jack Della Maddalena is on another level. He's probably got the best, cleanest boxing in the UFC. It wouldn't surprise me if we see an upset here and Jack Della Maddalena is still the champion at the end of the day.
However, Terrence McKinney thinks some fans overlook how much Islam Makhachev's durability could improve at welterweight without the weight cut. He expects Islam's ground game to be even stronger and sees the matchup being tighter than many predict. In his view, Islam has a real chance of edging out a 3-2 decision and walking away as a 2-division champion.
People think his chin's gonna be much better. He's not drained. Like, I think he's gonna be stronger once he hits the ground. I think it's gonna be a closer fight than people think, but I can see Islam definitely winning 3 rounds to 2 and becoming a double champ.
Moreover, Luke Rockhold called Islam Makhachev versus Jack Della Maddalena a tough but exciting fight. He listed Islam, Ilia Topuria, and JDM among the UFC fighters he enjoys most right now. While he respected Jack's wrestling ability, Rockhold felt Islam's deep grappling background gave him the edge. At the same time, he pointed out that Jack's size could be a key factor, especially as Islam adjusts to welterweight. Having trained with Islam himself, Rockhold mentioned he could clearly notice the size difference and is curious to see how that plays out on fight night.
Do you see him beating JDM to win that welterweight title?
That's a tough fight. That's a very tough fight. It's going to be interesting. You know, I think those are my 3 favorite fighters in the UFC right now. We go Islam, Topuria, and JDM. JDM's he's fun to watch. So, I mean, that's going to be a great fight. You know, he's no slouch at wrestling, but you have a guy that's wrestled his whole life and grappled his whole life versus JDM, who's kind of like, he's secondary on that, but, you know, you never know. He's a bigger guy. So, you know, we'll see how Islam, how he bulks up and how he looks. He looks a lot bigger than what I remember. I used to train with him forever. So, I mean, he's definitely grown. You know, we'll see how he carries the weight.
Colby Covington sided with Islam Makhachev in the matchup against Jack Della Maddalena. He acknowledged that Islam isn't the bigger man, but praised his complete skill set. Covington explained that if Islam can drag Jack to the mat and keep control, the fight tilts heavily in his favor. While he admitted the size gap adds extra intrigue, he ultimately leaned toward Makhachev to get the job done.
Islam versus JDM. What do you make of that? Islam moving up to now welterweight.
Yeah, it's an interesting fight. I'm excited to see how it goes. You know, Islam, you know, is a lightweight. He's going to be a little smaller in the fight, but he's a well-rounded fighter. So, you know, if he's able to take down JDM and control him, you know, he could definitely get the job done. But it's going to be interesting to see how the size advantage plays a difference in the fight.
Who do you favor?
I mean, I seen the odds were pretty big. They favored Makhachev like 3-1. So I guess I got to go with the odds if they're going 3-1. But just because JDM doesn't have good takedown defense, but you never know. It's a fight, and JDM has some good hands, so it should be an exciting fight for the fans.
That wraps up today's video. How do you see the showdown between Jack Della Maddalena and Islam Makhachev playing out? Drop your predictions in the comments. If you had a good time watching, hit that like button, subscribe, and don't forget to explore our other videos for more exciting MMA coverage.